Today, 6th of June, market opened in positive territory, up about 20 points in the morning. However, was not able to hold gains and eventually closed flat at 3330. Now, I mentioned previously that this rally itself is a bit doubtful because we don't see a significant increase in volume. However, managed to take out this resistance here, which is at 3360, and this now provide the immediate support. We have 3 consecutive bars where the market was not able to close well. This is generally negatives, and it may well break this, so we need to actually observe this very closely. Now let's take a look at the US market. This is S&P 500 on the weekly charts. Very nice move here, and followed by a brief pullback before we manage to actually make new high. We still got 2 more days to go. Volume at this point in time is still considered quite low. However, if the volume does pick up, it's generally positive. Otherwise, we may see pullback from here, but generally the upward trend remain intact. This is also quite clear from the Nasdaq. We have pretty strong move, closing at its all-time high. The volume again is very low. I'd like to see what happens over the next 2 sessions, but generally the trends remain intact. However, it is not broad-based, and this is quite evident if you look at NYSE Composite Index. So you can see actually at this point in time, they still have not made all-time high, so it's actually not broad-based. So most of the gain perhaps come from the tech stocks. Let's take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned about the yield managed to recover above the channel lines. However, the gain was not able to actually hold up well and eventually retrace. And in the process, it actually broke the lower channel line. If you notice, it make a successive low. So during this retracement itself, we also see weakness in some bank stocks. Going forward, we may see a test of this trend line, and it's more likely just a standard classic test, and eventually may even roll down. Looking at the recent price action, so this is generally negative, but it's positive for the markets, except perhaps for the bank stocks. This is Brent crude. Again, mentioned in the previous videos, we are biased towards the downside. Particularly, we have a huge gap here, and it actually trades sideways, mirroring whatever is on the left side, and we have a very decisive break. And it's currently supported at this level here. It's about $78. Resistance is just slightly below 82. So whatever the case may be, the oil stocks are likely to be impacted negatively. Let's take a look at the local markets. This is Yangzijiang. We have very impressive run-ups, particulars as a result of this hike in the container rate. At this point in time, there will be uncertainty. It was not able to close wells with a small body, long-dated doji, likely to actually correct from here. Daylight is also huge. I'd like to see the quality of the corrections and subsequently look for a next setup. Costco. There was a 10 breakout, but not able to close well. This is a small depot setup. 1326 remain well placed. Obviously, we have to contend with this overhead resistance. Samudara shipping. Here we have very obvious resistance, and it actually tested but not able to close well. This is an obvious sign of weakness. Notice actually a rejection of a company with higher volume, and we do expect pullback, and this is what happens. And at this point in time, we have a weak bounce, and it's more likely to actually continue to actually retrace. Important thing is that we not like to see a break below this. Breaking this, we will have a double top formations. If you trade sideways, digest the recent gain, and we may look for a new base to form and eventually look for new trends to comment. Mermaid, the stock recover very well, and after the run up, experiencing pullback on lower volume. At this point in time, we have a big dipper setup. 2-bar callback high here is at 182. Centurion. After period consolidation, stock actually broke out today, but didn't close as well. Likely to pull back. During the pullback, look for setups to go long. Let's discuss stock Broadway. After the strong run up, it's actually consolidating right now. If you notice, the range actually fall very significantly. I would like to see eventually challenge this high here at about 180. Bostic, this stock has a bit lower liquidity, so we just have to be careful. After consolidation, it actually break up with this gap and followed by this pullback. At this point in time, we have a big dipper setup. 2-bar callback high here is at 102, which is just above the psychological support here. And this gap provides some support. If you notice this bar here, it actually tested this support but was able to actually bounce off from here. So here we can see that actually the support is actually well placed. Dynamic. This stock after rollover managed to stage a very strong recovery. You can see recovery, but the pullback is equally deep. Usually we do not like a deep correction, a deep pullback from here. So the quality of the pullback itself does give us some doubts. Again, we just observe. It may well form a very big base from here, and it probably will take some time. Tech stock Franken. By far, this is the best performing tech stocks. And mentioned that after it rolled down, managed to stage a recovery, and over here we have a nice break, follow through again with a gap, which is nice. Look for pullback, look for a new setup. Obviously, we just have to be careful when approaching this area. Valuetronic, as mentioned previously, this stock is actually better to be viewed on the weekly charts. Okay, due to the lack of persistency. After this wide range bar, pull back, and I'd like to see eventually take out this high here of 655. AM, this is a weak stocks. We see a series of bearish gap, which is actually damaging. You can see a series of this. This is very damaging. So this stock has very little potentials. If at all, it's really here and run. Anyway, this gap here is a resistance level. So I'd like to see what happens when you approach this level. If it fails, we can identify setup to short. And this was tested on several occasions that make it very significant. Anyway, recently there's a change of CEO, so I'm not too sure whether that will make a lot of difference. Bank stock DBS, again mentioned it's better to actually view it on the weekly charts. So this is what happens. We have a contraction setup. There was a momentary break, but it didn't close well. If you notice the reversal bar, but obviously at that point in time when it actually broke out, the V-line is actually quite huge. I would prefer if the stock can just hover at this level, trade sideways, digest the recent gain, and look for eventual break on the upside. OCBC, similarly, notice actually we have a weak bar this week. It's a small deeper setup. There was a momentary break. I'd like to see decisive break above 1455. UOB, a less preferred stock among the three bank stocks for the obvious reason because we don't want an immediate resistance to contend with. You're quite a distance away, and this is at 31.35.